Today I'm going to show you how you can work with Airheads candy. You can replace fondant in some instances with it. It doesn't get hard like fondant, it stays a bit soft. So if you're going to make something that stands up kind of tall, then you're probably better off to use fondant or gum paste. But in some circumstances, this would be a great substitute. Check out our chocolate rice crispy treat reindeer. I used Airhead candy to decorate those, so you can see those as an example as well. I'm going to show you some techniques used in 3D modeling. They're very simple. If you ever played with Play-Doh, then you've already done this. Then we'll use those techniques and a few simple tools to create our floating snowman and polar bears. In our next video, we'll show you how to make the water effect for your cupcakes, and we'll put on our snowmen and polar bears. Let's go ahead and get started. First, I'm going to show you 3 shapes that you use in 3D modeling. This would be for fondant or also for our Airheads. The first being a ball. Pretty straightforward. We're going to take a hunk of our white here because we're going to use mostly white today. And you're just going to rub it in the palm of your hands around and around and around until you get a smooth ball. And that's all there is to making our first shape. The next shape is a cone shape, and you're going to start with the ball and just use your fingers, and you're just going to roll one end of it until it comes to a point. That's all there is to creating our second shape. This could be used for creating legs or arms on your character. The last shape is a snake shape. And to do that, you cut yourself a strip of your fondant or Airheads, and you're just going to roll it until it forms a long, round tube. And that's all there is to creating a snake. These are the 3 shapes we're going to use to create our snowman and polar bear, along with a few cutouts. Together with the 3 shapes I just demonstrated, we're going to use just a few tools here to make some other shapes. I've got 2 decorator tips. This is a number 12, this is a number 3, and then I have a small leaf cutter, and it is an F. Don't ask me why I didn't have a number, it's just F. So we're going to use those as well. Let's start our snowman. So I have 2 balls made here, one slightly larger than the other. This is just like putting together a real snowman. I'm going to flatten out the larger of the balls on the back just by kind of sliding it up and down, and I'm going to make it just a little longer and narrower than a real ball. That way it'll lay flat on your cake or your cupcakes. To attach the head to the body, Airheads are pretty darn sticky, especially since I've rolled these into balls. The heat of my hand has softened them up. They should just stick together, but if they don't, you can use a little bit of water, just like you do fondant, to soften up the Airhead. And that's the basic body of our snowman. So now what we really have to do is add the details. I rolled out a very, very thin snake out of the cherry, and we're just going to take a knife and cut this to size to make the mouth for our snowman. Now that we have the mouth for our snowman, we're going to make his carrot nose. So I've got a little bit of the orange, and I'm going to make it into a very pointed cone shape. Once you get your long cone shape made, then you can just use the sharp knife and cut it to the length you want for his nose. Now we're ready to make some eyes. To make the eyes, I'm going to use the very small end of my number 3 decorator tip. It's going to make very small circles. And I'll just pop it out with a toothpick. And there you have kind of the general face that you want to make for your snowman. Now let's make him a hat. To make the hat for our snowman, I decided to use purple for this particular one. And I made the cone shape just like before. I actually made it look a lot like a chocolate chip. And then just kind of bent the top over a little bit. So it's going to look a little bit like a stocking cap. Next we'll go ahead and add a brim to it. Our snowman is done at this point. We're going to add some more detail. I'm going to show you how to paint on these Airheads to do some more detail on him. But let's move on and get started on our polar bear. Here's the head of our bear, which is the biggest part of our floating polar bear. And it is kind of a cone shape, but it's very, very subtle. So I started with the ball shape, and then I really just shook my fingers and pinched one end just a little bit to give it a subtle cone shape. It's almost egg shaped, if you will. And push down on the top just a little bit to give it a little bit of a slant. And really it's simple. That's all there is to making the head. When we add all the details, it'll look like a polar bear. Let's work on some ears for him. To make the ears for our polar bear, I'm going to use the number 12 decorator tip and just cut 2 circles out of my white. I attached the ears to his head. At this point, we're done with the head. We're going to add some more detail when we get to the painting. So let's go ahead and make some paws for him. To make the paws, I'm going to use my little leaf cutter. If you have a teardrop shaped small cutter, that would actually work a little easier, but I don't, so we're going to work with this, and we're just going to cut out 4 of them. I've got my 4 feet cut out, and as you can see, it's a little too pointy on this end. Here's the larger end, and then it comes to even more of a point at the back. I'm just going to take my finger and soften up the point and make it a little more round. Now I'm just going to take a knife and cut off the point. That's how easy it is to make the paw. I'll make 4 of them. Make sure they're all symmetrical. As I said, you can paint your pieces. They do make edible markers, which would probably make this a little bit easier. They're really pricey and I don't really have one. So rather than do that, we're just going to work up some paint for ourselves. I've got a little black food coloring here. And all you have to do is we're just going to water it down. I'm just going to put a drop here on the back of this bowl. And I have a little paintbrush. And I'm just going to dip my paintbrush in a little bit of water. And I'm just going to thin down this gel paste a little bit. So I got a little scrap piece of blue here. And you just paint it on. And it will soak in. The moisture breaks down the sugar in the candy. And it absorbs the moist food coloring. This will allow us to paint eyes and noses and any other details we might want on our snowman and polar bear. So I did a little painting. I painted the eyes and nose on the polar bear head. And for each of the paws, I put a black circle in the middle and then 6 little toes around the edge for each of them. And for my snowman, I just painted on some buttons onto his body. For the snowman, you can use your imagination. You've got all these colors to work with. I'm going to make some variations to this so you can see some other examples of things that you might do. You definitely want to vary him up. You have less options with the polar bear. As you get each of your characters done, you can put them in an airtight container and put them into the refrigerator. This will help them harden up. You can make them weeks in advance and just store them in your refrigerator until you're ready to decorate your cakes or cupcakes. Here are a few examples of the snowmen that I made. I put a different hat on, put some earmuffs. Just use your imagination, get the kids involved. They'll have tons of great ideas. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Be sure to join our channel and don't forget to hit the notification button so you don't miss out on our next video. We'll be creating the water effect cupcakes and putting on our floating snowmen and polar bears that we just made. If you want to join our channel, you can click the link up above if you'd like. We hope to see you back soon.